President has delivered the SONA, State of the Nation Address for the year 2025. The key statement, we will not be bullied. I think leading up into the SONA, it was the remarks made by Donald Trump, Elon Musk and Marco Rubio that dominated the news cycle here in South Africa. And the President made it clear that we will stand together in defense of our sovereignty. Not a direct kind of response to Donald Trump and company, but I think the message was quite clear. He started off by acknowledging the soldiers that lost their lives in the DRC, and towards the end he mentioned that we will bring our boys back home. He kind of emphasized the point that we need to ensure security on the continent to ensure our own security, giving the justification as to why South African soldiers are there in the first place. The Minister touched on key issues that he was expected to touch on and touches on in almost every SONA. He said that the problems with electricity are pretty much behind us. What happened last weekend is a reminder that we're not out of the woods, but the trajectory, as he said, is very positive. And the focus now turns to water. We have a failing water infrastructure system, and he's saying that they've put together like about 23 billion rand for 7 major projects to be able to look at infrastructure and as far as water is concerned. And he kind of tried to inject optimism by saying we will resolve this water crisis like we did the electricity crisis. Then about tourism, he spoke about the e-visa and about how they will try and get more people into South Africa, how they cleared the 300,000 visa backlog. He spoke about aid to South Africa. This 90-day suspension of aid is about 17% of what South Africa requires in terms of healthcare, and they're looking at every intervention to try and deal with the repercussions of that aid being stopped for 90 days by the US. He spoke about the G20 coming for the first time to Africa. Speaking to Radio Islam, the Minister of Tourism, prior to the SONA, said that we're not too worried about Trump's remarks affecting tourism negatively because we've got the G20 coming. He touched on the Bella and that the Minister will now follow up on that. The NHI, they're sticking to their guns. He also spoke about the 70 years of the Freedom Charter right in the beginning of the speech. He, of course, acknowledged the GNU as an expression to our culture of cooperation in the beginning, and towards the end spoke about the need for a national dialogue. He said the most urgent thing is to grow the economy, and he spoke about a percentage of 3%. In that regard, he highlighted that government is looking to review the funding models for municipalities because many are struggling. He spoke about the digital identity system to bridge the gap between citizens and the government. Then the tallest building in Africa, that's on the list, and he highlighted a few details there. In as far as transport is concerned, he spoke about Transnet, the Transnet network stabilizing, and that not only is it stabilizing, but it is also improving. Towards the end, he touched on international issues. He spoke on Palestine and reiterated South Africa's commitment to the Palestinian cause. He spoke about a similar commitment to ensuring peace and justice in Ukraine. All in all, not as long a speech as he has perhaps given in recent years. He touched all the key issues. Not an inspiring speech. I think the doubt still lingers that, like in previous years, all of these things will be said, but how much of it will actually be delivered on? I think a lot will revolve around that opening remark that we will not be bullied. It's not a kind of silver bullet. It's not a magic wand. It doesn't mean that this problem with the US goes away. Some politicians, opposition politicians, said South Africa needs the US more than the US needs South Africa. Therefore, we need to be careful. We focused at Radio Islam quite extensively and intensively in our coverage throughout today and in the preceding days on this particular angle because we knew that it would be a dominant aspect of what people had on their minds coming into the speech. And I think many, if not most of the politicians we spoke to said that we don't need to be antagonistic, don't poke the bear, but at the same time we should speak at equals. We don't need to beg, we don't need to capitulate, and this should be a reminder for us that in the long term we should try and become self-sufficient. Caton McKenzie had an interesting perspective. He said, no, it's not that what Trump said is justified, but he has the right to ask questions. When I posed it to him, but apart from the fact that he's not asking a question, Trump is making an allegation. What about the fact that those countries that looted Africa should not be lecturing Africa that, you receiving and we're giving, so we have the right? What they are giving is far less than what they have taken in terms of exploitation. He commented as he walked off that everyone has looted Africa, everyone. So nothing out of the ordinary, this Sona, nothing out of the ordinary in this particular speech. Some aspects will be lauded, some aspects will be criticized. The opposition parties will obviously be opposition parties. The DA's demeanor will be significantly different. There'll be more lauding and applauding and gentle raising of concern because they're now part of the GNU, and same with the other parties in the GNU. It's left to be seen now what the MK party and the EFF, the two largest parties in opposition, will have to say.